Welcome to the Tearing It Up podcast. I'm your host, Taryn. We'll be tearing it up, tearing it down, and tearing it apart, dissecting all things related to those who deviate from the standard. From leaders of their industry to leaders of mediocrity, and maybe a gear review or two thrown in. We shoot the shit and let the conversations flow, so if that's not your style, this may not be for you. Otherwise, listen in. Hope to light a fire in you somehow.
We're live. Oh God. Right when I said that, I froze. I was like, oh, are you kidding me? Which I typically hotspot. And I'm not hotspotting right now because I forgot to do it. And so I sure hope that we get through this clear and steady.
Sounds great on my end.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, I mean, the hotspot, I get these messages all the time that say like, oh, unstable connection, whatever. And then I don't through my Starlink. However, it still always like freezes. So we'll see how far we get. But apologies for any interruptions ahead of time. Anyways, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, all those things to everybody. Hopefully you all had a good and safe holiday. And this is our last hello of 2023.
God, I cannot believe it. Also, saying 2023, I'm like, what year is it? Because I'm like,
I know it's still
trying to transition into saying that it's 2024. Wow.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Wow.
So weird. It goes by just faster and faster. So 2024, here we come. And I used to always feel super weird about the New Year in general, because I'm sure I've talked about this every New Year we've had podcasting, which is only 2 others, but the fact that it's in the middle of the school year. Yeah. And my birthday's in the summer. So for me, it really is like the middle of a year. Yeah. So I always felt like this is so weird to feel like you're starting fresh, but yet when you get back from winter break, you're right back in the middle of things. It's not even like in high school. It's not a new quarter or semester or anything like that. You were just right back where you left off in college, depending on if your quarters or semesters. And or I guess either way, you might be starting fresh in that at least. But yeah, it was always so weird. It just feels like, no, we're actually in the middle of a year, like not starting a brand new year. But now, and even so, like we're in the middle of winter, or I guess winter technically just started on the 22nd, but It just doesn't feel like January 1st is totally fresh,
Yeah. I like that thought. I like that thought a lot, actually.
Yeah, I kind of like it too, because then I don't know, I feel like I can continue on, not like I can start new goals, and that's great for the next year or whatever, but I also don't feel like if I don't get them by December 31st, like it's over. It's a continuation. And I feel like if I am doing something or working towards something still, like I can keep doing that. I don't have to cut it off or feel like I didn't reach it, because really I'm just continuing my season.
Yeah. Always continuing some sort of fucking season.
Yeah.
Lifeful season.
Yeah. And I feel like it's a good lesson too, in the fact of you don't have to wait until January 1st, to start a goal. I know by the time this comes out, it'll be December 28th. You only have 3 days left in the new year. So, and the new year is a Monday. So it's like, yeah, let's start our new goals, whatever, fresh on the week on a Monday or whatever.
Yeah.
But like for me, I just started doing yoga more recently, more often rather. And I've kept it up, but it's also because I haven't really felt since my cold, a lot of energy to do any high intensity strength work or strength work at all. And my body's just been like stiff and sore, and especially trying to wrestle around and stuff with these kids, I just feel so stiff, and that my body's only craving like yoga.
Yeah,
like slow flow. Yeah.
Movements. And it's like,
it's
like full on hibernation season.
Yeah. Yep. And I was just doing some the other day in a couple poses that I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I can't reach here or there. And I've never felt that. I was like, I could always do this. And now I like can't move my hands past here or whatever. So I was like, wow, I really need to get this in my life more regular, because I do not feel good not being able to do that. I'm like, this is not good. This is a bad sign if I'm this stiff and immobile in these areas that didn't used to be this way, which means that obviously you stop doing something, then you don't have it anymore, and it takes a lot longer to get back. So, and I'm just doing 30-minute yoga classes too, so it'll take even longer. I'm not doing like heated hour classes, so I feel like it's gonna be a long, slow kind of journey to get back to where I was in those mobility areas, but I just have to try to keep my mind steady there. Like, it's okay.
Fuck yeah.
Slow and steady. I'm the turtle.
What are you using for your videos? Are you just doing
Peloton?
Nice, yeah. Peloton yoga.
Yeah, I mean, I've always felt like I didn't use the Peloton app like enough for everything it has to offer, and especially now that they raised the prices like $12 or $10 a month for everything you used to get at the $12.99. So it's a bummer that it's like, wait a second, if you're raising it $10 a month, you'd think I should get like a lot extra or whatever, but I'm getting the same shit I've always gotten for the last 3 years or whatever, and I have to pay double the cost. It's kind of annoying, but everything in life is just going that way. And so, well, I guess with the cheaper version, you can do as many yoga classes as you want, but you are limited to 3 cardio classes a month. So, and I haven't spun a lot lately, but I do think that I will like do a spin class more than 3 times a month. Maybe. We'll see.
Is your bike still outside?
Still outside, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, the weather here is dry.
Yeah,
so
same here, man. We have had
so we haven't had to put it away yet, but I'm still going back and forth about a gym membership. It's been really nice still, like, working out at home. I really have enjoyed. There's times I want to go to a studio and get a good heated session in and stuff and do a hour-long class, but it's just been so much more accessible, easier for me to do. Like, I will do it if I'm at home, just like, cool, I got 30 minutes to do this real quick. And and that's how I felt about like even the little workouts, strength workouts and or spin, whatever. But I don't know, it is getting to the time of just more consideration of gym membership. But I still do Peloton spin classes at the gym, because there's only a couple spin classes if I do the full gym, and they're like really early, so I'll still go in the spin room and do a Peloton there. But I'm still just really torn between the full gym or like CrossFit, because I really want to go back to CrossFit, but financially wise, it just makes so much more sense to do the full gym where I have access to everything at any time I want. I could go to classes, shower, sauna, and I'm not held down to just these certain times that there's classes. And then I can do things that I'm, kind of feeling more, listen to my body a little bit more.
Yeah, I think we're getting to a point to where I'm going to sign up for a gym too, for getting the kid activity and movement later on in the day when it's dark. Access to pool. There's a rule at the YMCA that you can't use a treadmill until you turn 8. And since he's turned 8, he's like, Mom, let's go to the gym. I'm like, I don't have an active membership. So it's going to be
so funny.
A huge pivotal point for Quincy.
That's cool though. That's really exciting that he like wants to. And I mean, I know right now it could just be the fact that he couldn't do it before, and so it's like that, oh, now I can, and it might be a one and done thing, but it's really cool to think that he might really enjoy like going to the gym and exercising, and especially if you spin it in the way that like, hey, you're hyper, you want to like go out and play, but we can't because it's dark and stormy or whatever, like let's go to the gym, and this is how we can like have some fun and making exercise fun
Yeah.
for him so that it's just like fully ingrained in him. Movement is always ingrained in him.
Because I'm definitely struggling with making reading fun right now. Which hopefully
Yeah, I bet.
that'll change.
Jeez. Goodness.
Okay.
Well, we talked a little bit about goals a couple weeks ago and whatnot, and resolutions and things and our beliefs and whatever on those. But I thought we'd kind of either just recap the year,
Yeah.
and see where that conversation takes us,
Yeah.
and whether that's like lessons we've learned in 2023. I think it's hard to pinpoint them sometimes,
Yeah.
but maybe you have some, and maybe just some of our like favorite episodes or something of 2023 too, like, little light and fun as well.
That's so
So yeah, do you have
so
anything on the top of your mind
gosh.
about 2023 as a wrap up?
Not that I can pull out of my head right now, aside.
Oh, I was just going to say real quick, let me
Yeah,
preface the audience here that it is 7:30 in the morning. So
yeah.
I don't know if coffee's fully been had or ingested, or like, the brain juice isn't fully flowing.
Yeah.
So that could have things to do with it as well. But
It has been a year, dude. Like, it's just been a year. It's been a very trying year. There's been a lot of change. Yeah, and I feel like a big catalyst to all the change was like taking that grief recovery group class. So I think
oh
that
yeah.
was like a huge pivotal point for me. And I know I talked about it a lot when I was going through it, and I haven't like really done the practice since, as far as like completing a relationship. But um, yeah, that was a huge turning point for me.
I'm glad you brought the grief recovery class up, because I was looking back at our episodes. Spotify does the wrap up
Yeah,
that everyone like posts, like, oh, the most song listened to, or this, that, and the other. And there's a special Spotify for podcasters. And so it had a wrap up of like what our top episode was and all these stats and whatnot. So as I was looking at that, I'm just looking back through episodes in general, and the episode we had with Nicole, I was like, man, I really felt that episode was, and then me and my mom ended up having a conversation too more recently that it kind of revolved around that, like wills and things like that.
yeah,
And I told her, like, hey, you should go back and listen to that episode with Nicole,
yeah,
because Nicole's in Tacoma too. So I was like, you should listen to it. And I really want you to reach out to her
yeah,
about putting some stuff together, because it can be so overwhelming or whatnot. And I feel like the way she does it is so welcoming in an
yes,
arena that just, that's not what you think about. Is like when you think of wills and things like that, you don't think of welcoming as being a term or anything. But the way Nicole talked about it, I mean, it even made me feel like I have such a different change of attitude towards all of that. And so, point being here is that I think that episode was so great, and I wanted to kind of reintroduce it back to the world, because I feel like not enough people like went and found that one. So I wanted to highlight that episode
yeah,
again, because it's not just about death and dying. We talk
yeah,
about just grief recovery and loss of relationships, jobs, things like that, and all those different ways someone like Nicole, a death doula, can help.
yeah. And she has recently stepped back from doing full-time work in that field to focus more on her business. So she has a lot more time and energy focusing on grief recovery, death doula, and all that other stuff. So she just has like a lot more capacity, which is exciting for her because her job was taking a lot of that away from her. But yeah,
At the she was actually working at a mortuary, right?
yeah, like a funeral home.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And she was doing removals. So, like, when someone would pass away, she would help remove the bodies and transport them to the funeral.
Oh, from like the homes.
Yeah.
or wherever. Yeah. Okay.
And what a wild
Um,
place to be in someone's life. Like just like walking into their house and being like, I'm sorry for your loss, but like and it's like a time sensitive thing. Like you have to get people's bodies to a certain place location within like an hour and a half. Like same with like
wow.
you are an organ donor,
Uh-huh.
they have to use your organs within a certain amount of time. So if you have that organ donor checked on your license plate or your ID, after you pass away, if you're in a hospital, if it all is like if you're in a hospital, then it's good to let your family know that you're an organ donor, because that's what's going to happen is someone's going to come into the hospital room and be like, okay, this person's an organ donor and we need like one of these organs over in Idaho somewhere, so yeah, it is something that we all do and something that most people should think about, but don't, because it's really hard to.
Yeah. It's hard to face that fact. For those who maybe weren't around when you were going through the grief recovery and talking about it more, can you talk a little bit about what you meant when you just said like completing a relationship?
Yeah.
What that was in terms of the grief recovery that you did?
Yeah. So, in the grief recovery program, you learn terms, you learn about myths that people think we're supposed to do when we're grieving something, as far as like being sad, and that's it. There's so much more to it. There's things that we do called sturbing, which is like overdoing things, either good or bad. So you could be like working out too much or like focusing on your diet too much. And that's a term called sturbing. Um, and so when you are grieving something, you sometimes don't complete the process. And within the grief recovery, you learn how to complete a relationship either with someone who's passed away, someone that you've separated from, a job, a move. There's so many things that you can grieve. A pet, you can for surely grieve a pet.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you complete a relationship, it's just taking proper steps to look back at that relationship, starting from the beginning to whenever it ended. And you form a few timelines. Your first one is like your life timeline of like your grievances and your good times. And your second timeline that you do is with that person or that grievance that you are working through. And it just helps you look back at it in a good and a bad light, because through all relationships, we have good and bad things that happen. And sometimes we just don't process those things, like the next thing happens in life and you just move on over to the next whatever life occurrence is happening, and you don't get to process your grievances.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of your grief recovery, you are completing a relationship that has otherwise created some turmoil in your life.
Well, I'm sure it's or can be a big process to do that. And it might not be something you can do in 4 days, but I was just thinking that, since it's something that you started to work on, maybe it is a good time in these last few days of the new year that you could at least close that circle on something a little bit. Like you have the tools that you started to complete those with, or complete the relationships with, and maybe, it'll be something you can kind of close 2023 out with, or at least, make it close that gap a little bit more. You think you can do it? Is that what you said?
I think that's a great idea. I could probably do it. I am not exactly sure which relationship I would pick in my life right now. But a few months back in November, Nicole had a group of alumni get together. So like people who have completed the course, and they did a 1-day intensive grief recovery. And I had a friend who went to it, and he said it was very intense. But he did it. He completed a relationship, and it's. I feel like for a lot of people, it's probably the first relationship that they've completed since doing the course, because it's intense. Like, it's hard. It's really hard to sit down and like write a timeline of like you and your first pet, like from start to end. Life span together. So
Yeah.
it's just like exhausting mentally, emotionally, but it's so worth doing the work. It's so worth
I'm
the work.
I'm sure that once you're out of a course like that, it's probably a little almost a relief in a way that you're like, okay, that was so intense for those 6 weeks or 8 weeks, however long it was, that you want to take kind of a little break from that.
Yeah.
And like facing the things, but then it could be hard to it seems like it's one of those things that can be very hard to continue on when you don't have the person kind of holding your hand and making you go through it. So I can totally understand as to why many people, that it took that intensive to do it, or it might take something like coming to the end of the year and looking at it and like, do I want to, just use this as the kind of catalyst to close off or complete this relationship so I can start this new year like on this foot. But again, even just taking a little more steps of getting closer to closing that circle of completeness might just be helpful. I just put a sweatshirt on and my cord's like rubbing against my zipper, making weird sounds.
That's actually a really great idea. I think I'm going to mention that to Nicole to like broadcast that she should advertise that people should complete relationships before the year's over.
Yeah, just putting it back there in people's minds too, at least, right? Especially those who have done the course, like closing this year off. Is there a relationship that you can complete by then to get, like I said, start fresh with that, start on a different foot? But 2023, that's so crazy to think about that was, I think we did that episode back in March or something with her, and it's like it feels so long ago, but not that long ago that wow, this has all been the same year. Like, what the hell has happened this year?
Right. And that was like a deep dive into the year. I feel like once June hit, I was like, okay, we're at the halfway mark. Like, we're starting here.
Yeah, man, you had a big year. You had some like emotional year diving into all the things and making some big changes. So I don't even know if you
tired of the whatever I was doing before this, and it's also crazy to think about what it was before what it is now. If that makes any fucking sense, but it's really hard to think about what it was prior. That made me just like, no, this isn't working. Gotta fuck some shit up. Yeah, it's been a really uncomfortable year.
I think for a lot of people, like, looking back, like before you made a change, a major change, or even little changes, sometimes it's hard to imagine how life was, even if you think back like, oh, this is how life was in our 20s. Like, what? Like, it's so hard to believe that that's what we were doing, or
we just
past relationships or whatever, like past living situations. You're like, what? That was I did that.
Yeah. God,
it's crazy.
How about you? What was a big turning point for you in this year?
Man, I don't know if I had one thing that really stuck out. I mean, I just feel like it's this nonstop continuation of just learning and growing, and that is just life. And it's interesting to come to that realization that it really just doesn't stop, because things just constantly happen that you have to get through, right? Yeah. So you just never know what life's going to throw at you, or when it's going to be there, and what challenges or whatnot will come up. And sometimes things come up when you're in a certain state of mind and maybe not the most stable or healthy or whatever it is. And so you just never know what's going to come. And I just feel like that can be tiring sometimes to just feel like, oh my God, like, can I just catch a break? Can I just like, let's coast for a minute life. And I feel like in the last 3 years, especially really, and probably before then, but obviously, especially in the last 3 years with what has happened in the world, that we're all probably feeling that way of like, can things just settle down for a minute? Can we stop having, natural disasters or pandemics or crazy inflation? It's like, can we just not put our heads in the sand by any means, but yeah, just chill. Can everything just chill a minute?
Yeah,
and it doesn't feel like it's ever going to stop. I mean, the world feels like it's a dumpster fire for the rest of history, but for the foreseeable future. Yeah. But for me, yeah, I was just, I don't know. Lots of little things come up that in the moment seem like a lot, when you just have so many things going on, busy with work or life or just not feeling the best. We all go through phases of feeling we're not doing enough or we're not where we want to be, and that gets you down and whatnot. So I think that I probably go through all those feelings every year. Yes. But this year definitely seemed like a mental push. But I also felt like I had a lot of wins too. So
yeah, I feel like you have done really well this year, and you've been on top of your shit and you've been slaying it, and I'm so proud of you. Mean it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It's always hard, to have that view for yourself. So it's nice to hear it from others because you're harder on yourself, right? So you're always thinking, I could have done more. I wish I had done more. Could be better. Could be here. Could be there. And, you look at other people's successes, like, why don't I have that or whatnot? And like, why is it still taking me so long to get from here to there? But you do have to really look at where you came from and where you started to see where you are now, and just know that, like, again, things do take time, but we're in this world that it's always fed to us that no, it can be instant and overnight success. And it's like, okay, no, that's not, it's not how it works. Even with the podcast, it gets frustrating at times when if I see a new podcast come out and someone I might know or have an acquaintance with or something, I'm like, wow, what the hell? Like, how do they have this many listeners already or downloads, or like they started out with brand sponsors? Like, what the hell? What did I do wrong here? Or whatnot. And it's just like, it's not about that. I just took a route of doing it a different way and growing the longer way. Because it happens to me often. I take a work harder, not smarter route, but that's because I don't always have a plan to go in with. I just start something. I'm just like, yeah, let's do it, instead of, before I start, let me have a 6 month to year long or 5 year long plan about how I'm going to get here or there. And I do recommend, that is very helpful to have. But also, I know that I'm the type of person that if I don't do something when it's top of my mind, it's probably, most likely won't then happen. So, which is why it ends up being the route of doing things harder, not smarter, because I just had to do it with the limited resources or knowledge I had. And yeah, maybe that will be something that changes down the line for the next whatever thing I do. But
never prior.
Now I just know that's how I work.
Yeah. And I think that's great, knowing yourself.
Yeah.
Also, when you
ahead.
are your harshest critic, you know where you're slipping through the cracks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To the eye of someone else, they're just like, oh yeah, doing a great job. But to you, you're like, fuck, I fell short here. I fucked up there. So you have those on your forefront, whereas someone on the outside is like, wow, this person's really trying.
Right. But I think it's so helpful to look from that outside perspective, because those things that you fell through the cracks could be just little minimal things, right? And again, it's just always better to focus on the wins than the negatives. Yeah. And it's just always so much easier to give the advice than to take your own advice. And I mean, like I've mentioned with wrestling, we put so many life lessons and relate them to wrestling, and we have these conversations with the kids, and it's like, as we're saying them, it feels so weird because I don't feel like I'm almost 20 years out of high school. And like 20 years older than some of these kids. And so as I'm like sitting there, you know, I feel like I can relate to them. And you can, because you've gone through it. You've been a 15-year-old, whatever, you know, but it's almost like a weird out-of-body experience. Like, I think sometimes, like, who am I to give these kids advice? I'm like, wait, no, I can. I definitely can. I have I have gone through what they've gone through and lived a full life. So I absolutely am at a place in life that I can be giving advice and making these connections and whatnot. But it's so weird. Like, yeah, being in a high school, you're like, oh, this wasn't that long ago, you know. I only feel like I'm like 20. And I'm like, god damn, like, no, almost 20 years out.
20 years ago who were giving us advice.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
And it's also part of that, like, imposter syndrome thing, you know, where it's like, who am I? But also I think it's humble to have that aspect, because like a lot of people, I feel like, when giving advice or like coaching somebody, it's like, yeah, do this, this, and this, and it's that easy. And I got through this and it was easy. But like in real time, it's like, nah, that was fucking hard. And I struggled and it was shitty, you know? And I think even giving that advice is great, because a lot of times shit's shitty.
Yeah, we had me and the head coach, Derek, we both had, like, just once we start talking, sometimes it just goes on. So we ended up having a talk after practice yesterday that definitely spiraled into a longer, deeper conversation out of nowhere with the kids. But I feel like, oh, this is great. It's not just me, like the woman, you know, like talking about all this or something. Like, he's going into it as well. But yeah, we mentioned that we do like put our own experiences of like, hey, look, we know that it's hard when you're in it, and we've gone through shit, and that's why we're here for you to talk to, because we have the shitty days. We still have our shitty days. Like, but we're showing up for you to help be the person that like pull you out of those. But not every day for us is, you know, rainbows and kittens or whatever. We're still human as well. We're all going to have shitty days, and that's fine. But, you know, just tell us if you're having a shitty day. You don't have to go into detail, but we understand it happens in life. And especially, you know, we're not downplaying you guys by saying like, oh, you're just high schoolers, life's not that hard, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, we fully recognize that at any age or phase of life, shit happens and you have shitty days, and it can affect everything else that you're doing in life. But just recognizing it and telling people, you know, I'm having a bad day. It's like, it's that easy sometimes. And that just helps so much for people, the way people around you can act and accept you and whatnot. Like, you don't have to bury everything so deep and pretend it's all just fine.
And there are a lot of days where you have to like chug on and push through. And it is hard to slow down and acknowledge like what's going on in your body and what you need. Like, it's really hard to do that sometimes. Or like, if your body needs rest and you rest, it's hard to not feel guilty about that, honestly.
Yeah. And it can be hard to get going again.
Yes. Oh God. That one is.
Yeah. And that's one thing we talk about too, you know, and why we tell them that we recognize and know that like everyone has shitty days. It's like, but you still have to show up.
Yeah.
We're not saying like, if you're having a shitty day, let us know and like, you know, go home, don't be here. It's like, no, we still expect you to be here every single day and be showing up. But we understand that you're 100%, again, something we've talked about a lot, it looks different every day. Yeah. It's like you're 100, you can't gauge that. My 100% is going, you know, like 60 miles an hour or whatever every day. It just, your 100% does not look the same every single day, and that's okay. But you still have to show up, and because if you're not showing up in life, so you have to figure out the way that you can show up today. But you have to be there. You have to just show up.
Hell yeah. Coach Taryn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's weird too. But they usually just say coach, like, to all of us.
Yeah.
Sometimes if they're like really trying to get a certain coach's attention, they'll throw the last name or first name or whatever in. And it's so funny because I always think back to my coaches and I'm like, we didn't call them coach, we just called them by their last name. It was like Ellis and Niece and whoever else, Ptolemy, like, and Mitch was just Mitch, but but yeah, I never really called anyone coach. It was always just a name. So it's always kind of funny to hear it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's me. I feel like that's probably how people feel when their kid first starts talking and it's like, Mom. You're like, oh yeah, that's me.
That's me. That's me. My favorite thing to do at playgrounds or public places when kids, not my children, are like, hey, Mom. I'll be like, yes, that's my name too. And kids look at me, what the fuck is this woman on?
Yeah. They're like, yeah, no, there's only one mom and it's mine.
Yeah. And then they'll be like, and then they'll be like, Karen! Karen!
You've really thrown them for a loop now. Now they're like never saying mom in public.
I love it. And I highly suggest other moms and dads to do the same.
Yeah, that is pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have a good just easy, simple answer of lesson learned in 2023. Just continuing through the life and dealing with the things. Just keep on keeping on.
Yeah, show up.
Show up.
It's as simple as that. Show up, and if it's not 100% that day, then maybe it will be on the next.
Yep. And I think that actually, yeah, that I guess that's I guess I didn't want to say that was the lesson because I feel like I've always done that. That's the way I've been and the way I was raised as well too, was like you still had to be there, and largely from sports. It was like we didn't miss a day, we had to be there. Like we weren't quitting anything. Once we started, it was, like, nope, you're not quitting. And so, yeah, I feel like I've always done that, but I guess it's taken up a different meaning rather than just show up miserable or whatever. And I've realized that now I actually have the power to show up how I want to, instead of show up and don't complain or do this or that. It's like I can show up and it might be, a slow and steady day. And especially with working out and like what we've talked about, nutrition and stuff in the last couple months, that it feels like something has finally clicked of taking the pressure off myself. And the biggest part is like, show up, and I don't have to be doing these high intensity workouts. I don't have to be eating this strict way, but if I'm just arriving as I am that day and kind of being conscious of what's going on and taking a step, it's better than not taking a step, because I'm very much a like ride or die person. And I'm trying not to be that, because I have to find the middle ground, because I really hate being that, like, it's all or nothing, because that's just not sustainable. So, just trying to get rid of that mindset and showing up. But it feels like that's definitely been something I've been working on for a while. So maybe in 2023, it feels like it might be clicking.
And it's
we'll see.
It's a practice, just like yoga, just like working out. Everything is a practice. We're all working on towards something. Yeah,
exactly. I had to tell this kid that yesterday. He was like, we're doing this drill. And I was like, okay, so yes, you can do it that way, but this particular drill is this way. So I want you to do that. And he's like, well, I'm not good at it. I'm like, that's exactly why we're doing it, because you're not good at it. Like, this is practice. Like, you practice it because you're not good at it, or it can always get better. Like, that is the biggest reason you should be working on it the way we just told you to. is because you're not good at it. So, like, come on, man. And I feel like it was like I've got nothing to argue with, like, moment for him.
Amen.
It makes sense. Yeah. But before we, I guess, kind of change gears a little bit, any last thoughts and lessons from you from 2023 or anything?
Oh, I really like the just show up, be present, show up message. I really like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just 2023 has fucked me up a little.
Yeah, and it's hard to put it all into one word or one lesson.
Yeah.
What's that?
I'm ready to say goodbye to it.
Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, especially just looking forward, completing some circles maybe for you, and just starting fresh.
Should we talk about favorite episodes?
No, that's what I wanted to go into. So that's what I wanted. Which again is so hard for me. I mean, we're biased, obviously, but I honestly feel like this year the guests we had were just so amazing that every episode we had with a guest, I feel like, was so good and so great and had such valuable information. And also, apart from that, I think our best individual episode, or just you and I episode, a TNA, was probably the one we did most recently when you talked about your split with Murray. Yeah. I feel like I got messages from people like that was like such a good episode, and I think it just resonated with a lot of people in whatever way, whether they've gone through that or have had feelings about it or are going through or whatever it was. People really liked that, and I loved it because, like I said, it was just such one of those days. We had a little bit of an outline, and all of a sudden you just made that like quick comment, and I was like, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
You just said that out loud. Like, do you want to like expand? And it went into it, and I feel like that episode, let me find the title for it, was our best me and you episode.
You gotta have categories, man. We've done it.
I think number 71.
Crazy.
Yeah, navigating a new phase of life. I think that was our best solo episode, and gosh, like I said, really every episode with a guest was just
seriously.
Yeah, so much goodness. Like go ahead.
And needs a follow-up. Like there was just so much to talk to these women about and connect about that it's just like every guest we need to have like a follow-up and be like, hey, what's going on? What is going on? We've had a few like live episodes this year, which was really cool and chaotic and fun.
Yeah. Yes.
And like a lot of information. And like because I didn't go to Swell, so I remember listening to that and trying to keep up with all of the women. So it was really lovely to have a follow-up with some of them individually.
Yeah. And that's what I really wanted out of that Swell episode was like, here's a tiny little taste, and to get people more excited about, I can't wait to hear more about this person and this or that. And there's still some that we need to follow up with. So I'm excited to do that.
Yeah.
Follow up with a couple of those ladies and have longer episodes. And like you said, from everyone that we've had, there's just always so much to talk about that it's really hard to put it in. And I personally love that, like returning guests on a podcast.
Yeah.
Sometimes it only happens, twice or whatnot. People are busy, obviously. It's crazy, but I fully intend to have everyone or at least ask everyone that we've had before to come on again, because I think there's just so much more conversation to be had for sure. And some of them have their own businesses, some of them don't, but they're still involved in ever-changing worlds and things. Real quick, I wanted to do I'd planned to do like a top 10 episode post like through the last 10 days of the new year, but with our last episode with Hillary's ebook, I kind of wanted to focus on that. So we posted a few days in a row about that. So maybe I'll do the last top 3 or something post, but I thought that we could at least maybe go through what our top 10 episodes were. And I'm actually going to pull it up because I know I have a couple episodes that were just me and you. I just have the number and not the title. So let me
The Sturdy
see.
Dirty, there's like, we need categories because there's just been so much. Like, we need a guest category, we need
It is, yeah.
live one, we need a TNA one. Yeah.
I know, right?
Been a big
It's
year.
so funny you say that about categories, though, because I was thinking about that. I'm like, recently, I'm like, I got to categorize our kind of buckets a little bit.
The Dirty episode was so fun, and I know it was very recent, but like that cocktail episode was really fucking fun because I got tipsy. Oh, apologize if I was like, I don't know, but I was drinking alcohol, so give a girl a break.
That's really funny that you say that because I was like, did you guys drink them beforehand or what?
No, it was there in real time, and I mean, we continued afterwards. But
I only had the boozy snowman. I made the gimlet, but I didn't make it. I didn't put enough like ice in it, whatever. So it was really short, and then I had to go. So I just never ended up finishing it till like a week later. I was like, oh my god. But I made that and then a couple others, and they're just so tasty.
Yes.
So tasty. So as I was looking this up, I realized like even in my stats here, because of the way I labeled them, I save them before they have a title sometimes. So it still just has the date. And I need to go through and kind of put the numbers on each episode, but I'll just go off of kind of dates for now so we don't end up spending too much time. But anyway, number 1 is our first podcast ever. That is number 1 in our stats there. Let me get back to my window here because I can't see you and it feels weird. Okay, there we go. Yeah. And then we have, and so this is, okay, this is all time as well, not just 2023. I'm doing all time because we, for 2 years, like, so we weren't on a weekly basis. So I just wanted to do all time. And then from here on out, we'll do like of the year. But all time was our first episode. And then number 2 was the episode with Erica Vikander. That was number 1 for 2023. Nice. Number 2 overall. And then the episode I just talked about, 71, which was with you, navigating new phases of life. And then we dipped down to episodes 26, 15, and 25. So those were all in 2022. And those were just individual episodes with you and I. Looking back at the dates, they were in December of 2022, June of 2022, and another December of 2022. So it's just interesting to see, that there's not really a specific trend. Yeah. Which I think is great because that just means, people, hopefully y'all are really loving the conversations you and I have. And then, of course, the conversations we have with guests. So then we get into guests to finish off. We have the episode with April Katz, which was amazing. We met her at the Sturdy Dirty, and she is highly involved in a lot of adaptive athlete and mountain biking groups. The Arrow Project is the main one that she has. And then Tanya, the money life coach. Yeah. And then a catch-up episode with Hillary. So after she moved back from the Virgin Islands, and then the Sturdy Dirty episode. Awesome. So yeah, and that was fun too from the Sturdy Dirty, catching up with some of the gals from there and doing full episodes with them. Like I'd love to have Casey back and all that. So if you do have a favorite episode from anytime, really, favorite episode at all, with a guest that you'd love to hear from them again, let us know. I'd love to just, get those requests and see who wants to hear from who, and if there's anything specific that you want to hear from them. So we've been using this new platform that's really cool that has a live chat. So I think for the most part, we're going to use it going forward with guests, and hopefully it might not be with every guest, but whenever it is, we'll be sure to post it on Instagram that when we open up the live chat to have a guest, you can join the chat and you'll be here talking with us and be able to ask questions to the guest or to us or whatnot. So we're going to be opening that up more. And that's just really fun. Like I said, I've done it with other podcasts who do it. And it's just neat to feel like you're kind of contributing to the conversation.
And in real time, because I know that there's been like a few episodes, like I was talking to Becca about one episode, I forget exactly which one, and she was like, whatever happened with this? Whatever happened with that? And I'm like, oh, shit.
Oh, yeah.
So many things that like just get slipped through the cracks, man.
Yep. And we don't do a lot of editing to our podcast or anything. So if you are in the chat and you're listening to the whole thing, when you hear it live, recorded later or when it's released, it'll be pretty similar. But if that chat does get bigger, we may have offline time and online time, and it might be, sound a little different when you listen to it once it's published or whatnot. Or we might, start or end the conversation with or without the chat so that there is still a surprise for you or whatever. But sometimes you just pop into the chat and you can't stay the whole time, so it's still fun to be able to listen to it once it's live.
And how fun to be a part of a conversation. That's how
I mean, I always feel like I am in listening to podcasts. The ones I love the most are when I feel like I'm like right there in the conversation. But then when you actually can be and you can send your thoughts, feelings, whatever, and it doesn't have to just be asking questions to a guest or to us about a certain subject or whatever. It's just, a chat full of people. And if we start on a topic and people just like, oh my God, that happened to me. And, you're sharing stories or whatever. Yeah. And so it's just fun, little kind of community building thing. So just keep an eye on the Instagram because we'll always post the link when those chats are available to join. And we will have one, unfortunately, by the time this episode is live, we'll have already recorded, but we will be starting the new year off with an episode with Tasha Thomas and Margaret Wheeler, who were the instructors of my motorized avalanche level 1 course. And I've been trying to get them on for over a month. For a long time I've wanted them on, but it's so hard to schedule multiple schedules, and align them rather. So I'm super excited to get them on tomorrow and just share their experience with getting into that world and especially motorized, very male dominated industries, both snow sports and motorized in general. And then especially like education. And so, I'm really excited to learn more about them, really how they got started, in their field and what else they do, because that's not the only thing they do. Yeah. So that'll be a great one. And then we'll also have Georgia Grace from NARA, formerly SheFly, on. So that'll be super cool and exciting as well to chat with her and learn more about their brand of peeing wherever you want.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Possibility.
Yep. So a couple of awesome episodes to start 2024 off. And if you have anyone you want to hear from, any topics you want us to talk about, let us know. You could always send us a message on Instagram, or you can find our email on our website and let us know what you want to hear, because we'd love to give you what you want. Yeah, exactly. Here for you. Here for you. Here for us. Here for all the things.
Here for you to hear us.
Yeah. But it's been a good year. Overall, especially for the podcast, we've had a very successful year as far as getting a regular, consistent weekly schedule. We have our day, which is Thursday, that you can find new episodes always Thursday morning. They're out usually in the 4:30 hour Pacific Standard Time. So 7:30, whatever, Eastern Standard Time. So hopefully early enough still to get your day going if you need. But we look forward to continuing another year of those Thursday episodes, having more guests, having returning guests, and just continuing the conversation to tear it up.
Always,
yeah. Anything from you looking forward to 2024?
I said I made my intention to be like more financially stable, and I'm
great.
on the path to getting, instead of setting up a Roth IRA, I think I'm going to start a high yield first, and then within the next 6 months, I'll get a Roth going.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Well, the whole year is about creating more stability in that area. So,
and things
take your time.
So that's cool too. Because I think.
Oh wait, hold on.
Oh,
what'd you say? You kind of paused.
I said things are looking that way, because I think in 2023 I became the brokest I've been in a very long time. And great motivation to not be broke. So that's cool.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I took a big step back from taking a big step forward in 2022. Then a few months later is a big step back. And so I'm still on that, 10 steps behind, trying to inch my way back to a somewhat normal 35-year-old. What I feel like should be a normal 35-year-old, but we'll see. There's no normal, right?
There is no normal.
That doesn't exist.
There is no normal. It doesn't get easier.
Yeah. I'm just really excited for the podcast really in 2024 and to keep growing it. I'm a part of a little women's group, a Wild Women's Podcast Society that I joined. That's just a few of us right now, and just a few month-long kind of program to chat and help build things up. So it's been a really exciting thing to be a part of, to get the motivation, inspiration, and have some brains to pick when I've got questions or whatnot to share the knowledge and experiences. And yeah, I'm just excited for this little thing to keep growing. And so all of you out there who love it, we'd just love for you to share as well and help us grow.
Yeah, seriously.
Help us grow in 2024.
Help some sisters out, guys.
Yeah, it's super easy.
Yeah.
Just, like, share, subscribe, all those things. Send them to send an episode, your favorite episode, to your friend if they haven't listened to us before. Or even if they have, just send your favorite episode, because maybe they're not listening to every episode, or it can start a whole nother conversation, or they can pass it on to someone else. But it's definitely, how things grow, just networking in general.
Totally. Just putting it out there. Like, let us know. Be like, hey, I listened to that episode. And we'll be like, fucking great. Thank you.
Yep.
I think that's my favorite part, when I'm like, what? They listen? They've heard an episode?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's so cool. You're so cool.
I know. I love that part too. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up here. I got to get the day going. I'm sure you do as well. And we will talk to you all in 2024.
Bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode and would do us a huge favor, since we don't have any sponsors or anything like that, and would rate and review us on whatever platform it is you use, Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, whatever it is. And if you're listening and downloading just through the website, tearingituppodcast.com, leave comments. We'll definitely engage back with you. And on social media right now, we're just on Instagram. Tearing It Up Podcast is the handle. Like the post, share the post, comment on the post, whatever it is you got. Show us your love so we just stay relevant and show up in the rankings at all. So again, rate and review, please. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.